I would like to call on stage Dr. Bharat Purandare and Dr. Ajit Tambolkar, please.
Okay, thank you. A very good morning to all of you. I think it was a very beautiful session yesterday, jam-packed hall. I don't know how many of you attended yesterday's session, but it was a feast. And today also we are going to have a feast, and all good lectures are lined up in both the halls. And I request all the audience to actively participate in the session, ask questions. And today we are going to start, we are going to set this ball rolling with Dr. Awadhesh Kumar Singh. So may I have the honor to invite Dr. Awadhesh Kumar Singh on stage. And he's going to talk on a very important topic, near to every diabetician's heart, kidney as a window to heart. Further analysis from the CREDENCE. Dr. Awadhesh Kumar Singh, please.
Thank you, chairpersons, for the kind word. Thank you, organizers, Dr. Unikrishnan and entire Chelaram Diabetes Institute team to invite me to be an opening batsman for the 2 days entire day program. Fortunately, I would be also the last speaker for today's program. In between, I have been given a difficult responsibility to give 3-4 lectures in between. So you will find me in both the halls quite often now. So what we are going to take with me, Dr. Godbole is here. So this symposium is entirely on SGLT2 inhibitor, in particular related to canagliflozin. Why this talk is important for all of us, that this is the only renal trials with SGLT2 inhibitor. You may have heard about IMPAREG since the publication of IMPAREG in 2018, and then onwards to CANVAS and DECLARE TIMI. That was the cardiovascular outcome trial. But the CREDENCE is a trial conducted with one of the SGLT2 inhibitor, that is canagliflozin, as a kidney as a primary renal endpoint. Please remember that in previous cardiovascular outcome trial, like IMPAREG, CANVAS and DECLARE TIMI, kidney was exploratory outcome, kidney endpoint were exploratory endpoint. So any benefit which was accrued in IMPAREG, CANVAS and DECLARE TIMI, which was actually accrued in those 3 cardiovascular outcome trial, was just a exploratory or hypothetical. So let's say if you have reduced albuminuria in IMPAREG or CANVAS or DECLARE TIMI, that attempts to suggest that SGLT2 inhibitor can protect kidney, but that is not a robust evidence to suggest. For that you need to conduct a trial, because those were primarily the cardiovascular outcome trial. But here we are going to discuss a renal outcome trial called CREDENCE. And the topic, as you can see, is the kidney as a window to heart. Because in CREDENCE trial, the primary outcome was the kidney and the secondary outcome was the heart, as opposed to the CANVAS, where the primary outcome was the heart and the secondary outcome was the kidney. So of course, at any point of time, you see the kidney is working as a window to heart. Needless to say that diabetes is the leading cause of kidney failure, not in United States, but in India as well. And diabetes, accrues the largest number of diabetic kidney disease in India, as high as 60% of patients in the renal outdoor with a renal transplantation are suffering from diabetes in India itself. The data in front of you is from United States. What is interesting to note that, as my topic is kidney as a window to heart, all patients with kidney disease finally or eventually die because of heart disease. And you can see with every increase in albumin in urine, you can see the exponential increase in cardiovascular mortality, also the all-cause mortality going up with the increase in albumin level. So you can see from this cartoon that with the green one, which is microalbuminuric range, to the macroalbuminuric range, which is the red one, as the kidney excretes protein through, you can see there is increase in cardiovascular and all-cause mortality. And eventually, that decreases your life by almost 15 to 16 years. More so in women, as you can see, almost 17 years of life is lost. Women are unfortunately always on negative sides of any cardiovascular disease. Just would like to remind you, just very recently we published a gender difference in cardiovascular outcome. This is perhaps the first data in the globe which suggests as a women whether we are benefited with these GLP-1 agonist and the SGLT2 inhibitor. In blanket we say these actually benefited both the sexes, but you would be amazed to see again women didn't benefited like men with SGLT2 inhibitor in those CB outcome trials. So unfortunately women are always on the wrong side of the fence. That's I always say that nature has done prejudice to women. The same case is with the kidney as well. However, coming back to the CREDENCE trial, the CREDENCE, this slide is important to understand that the CREDENCE was started before the IMPAREG result was read out. So the CREDENCE was the entire purpose and the objective of a study has nothing to do with what happened in the IMPAREG outcome trial, because no one realized that an anti-diabetic drug can protect heart. And if you ask CANBUS or declare TIMI, the people learned from what happened in IMPAREG that this molecule has a potential to reduce heart failure and in turn cardiovascular death. So, there is a possibility of changing the statistical plan but CREDENCE was started with entirely primary objective of kidney outcome even prior to the IMPAREG result was out. So this trial has nothing to do with the primary objective or any kind of changes or amendment in the trial process. Now the CREDENCE trial, as I said, is different from the previous three cardiovascular outcome trial like IMPAREG, CANBUS and declare TIMI, that this was conducted primarily in patients with kidney disease. As you can see, 60% of the patients in CREDENCE trial had chronic kidney disease, unlike list with the declare TIMI where only 9% had CKD, IMPAREG had 26 and CANBUS 20%. And you can see almost 90% of the patient had macroalbuminuria. And that was actually the inclusion criteria in the CREDENCE trial. What is interesting to note that even in the CREDENCE trial, as I said, everyone had macroalbuminuria, and they all were receiving the standard of care, including ACE inhibitor or ARB or other cardiovascular drug like statin, antiplatelets. And at the top of that, the trial was conducted to understand whether canagliflozin 100 milligram has any potential to protect kidney. That was the entire essence of the CREDENCE trial. So what was the plan in the CREDENCE trial? I will quickly take you through the CREDENCE because I'm sure you have heard several times. So I just wanted to give you the sneak peeks of what happened in the CREDENCE trial. So the trial was interesting in the way that it was planned in such a statistical hierarchical fashion that the trial was primarily objected to see whether this drug has any potential to protect kidney. And this was not a small, albuminuria endpoint. If you are conducting a renal endpoint trial, you have to have a composite of different renal outcome. Like you need to see not only the reduction in proteinuria, which is a small endpoint. You can see the primary objective was to see doubling of serum creatinine, means directly kidney function. The kidney albuminuria is a surrogate. Many patients may have albuminuria, will never develop kidney disease. Or opposite, many patients had got a chronic kidney disease who had never had albuminuria. So albuminuria is just a surrogate. We tend to develop that if you reduce albuminuria, you protect kidney. That is actually the case, but that may not be every time is the case. And that's why in the renal endpoint outcome, albuminuria is not included as the primary objective, being a very soft surrogate. You need to have a hard endpoint, and that is doubling of the creatinine. You can see the end-stage kidney disease, someone requiring renal transplantation or cardiovascular renal death. So that's the hard endpoint of composite in the primary outcome in the CREDENCE trial. And secondary, you can see variety of cardiovascular endpoints, starting from CB death, heart failure, or 3-point MES, which is CB death, MI, or a stroke, or third point as a hospitalization due to heart failure. what you need to know about this credence is that this trial was fashioned in such a manner that if the trial achieves the primary outcome, then only you see the another endpoint. If you fail to achieve the primary endpoint, rest all you can see point number 2 to 8 is invalid. So this trial was made in such a statistical hierarchical fashion that only if the primary objective is met, then you can see another endpoint, and if it comes positive, then only you can claim benefit. Otherwise, if the primary objective is not met, rest all are theoretical and throw it into dustbin. So that was a very interesting idea from the statistical point of view. So what happened in Credence trial? They won the game, and they won the game for 19 years. None of the drug in the nephrological sections which had shown actually the benefit, which the canagliflozin, an anti-diabetic drug to be used as a tool to reduce blood sugar, can protect kidney. So you can see there is a 30% reduction in the composite of renal endpoint. And as I said, if you have reduced the primary outcome, then see the point number 2, 3, and the next onward. So it achieved the superiority in protecting kidney. And that is in the form of composite of this 3 or 4 renal endpoint, which was ESKD, doubling of serum creatinine, or renal or CB death. I'm not going into detail of individual endpoints of kidney. Let's select the next endpoint, which was CB death or heart failure. So as I said, when the primary outcome is positive, you look for that. And again, you can see there is 31% reduction in the CB death or hospitalization of heart failure, better than even what happened in the Canvas trial, if you remember. So this was the second endpoint. Third was the 3-point mesh, which is the main objective in the other trials like IMPARE, Canvas, and Declare TIMI. Now you can see why I would like to show you this important point is, so canagliflozin has got a 2 cardiovascular outcome trial. One is Canvas, another is Credence. In Canvas, there was an 18% reduction in 3-point mesh, which is CB death, MI, or stroke. In Credence, there was a 20% reduction in the 3-point mesh, which is CB death, MI, or stroke. The difference is the 3-point mesh was a secondary outcome here, and it was primary outcome in the Canvas trial. Nevertheless, for the second time, you can have a trial to show exactly similar benefit or perhaps more in a patients with kidney disease. So that's the data which was replicated in the Credence trial, which we saw in the Canvas trial. If you see the heart failure, this was the 4th endpoint in the Credence trial. You can see there was 39% reduction in the hospitalization due to heart failure in the Credence trial. Remember, in the Canvas trial, there was 33% reduction. And people thought, why not see this molecule in patients with kidney disease? We are prone to suffer from heart failure. And for the second time in the Credence trial, canagliflozin was associated with almost 40% reduction in the hospitalization due to heart failure, even larger than the IMPARE, which was 35% and 33% in the Canvas, 27% in the Declare TIMI. So that was amazing trial and to understand. And this is the summary of what happened in the entire Credence trial. And you can see the primary objective was met, and next the power went to the second one, CB death, heart failure. Again, the Credence won this benefit. Third one, 3-point mesh, won the game. 4th endpoint, won the game, heart failure. 5th endpoint, again kidney endpoint, won the game. The 6th endpoint was cardiovascular death. You can see just they missed the bus because the p-value was just nominally significant. Had it been less than 0.05, again the 6th endpoint would have been met. As I said, moment you have not shown a statistical benefit, next all other parameters, so 0.78 becomes invalid. So for the first time, you can see a renal endpoint trial where the first 5 endpoint was met in a statistical hierarchical fashion. So that's about Credence trial. But something new has happened, and we thought to relook into what has happened in the Credence in last 19 years. Now, so we just reviewed the literature and tried to understand what was there in the hand prior to the Credence for the renal protection in a kidney patient. So no need to read. Suffice to understand that we tried several molecules in the past to protect diabetic kidney disease, and we miserably failed. Now, first trial was called 4D, It's a quick result from the 4D trial where the statin, atorvastatin 20 milligram was used to see whether statin can protect kidney. As opposed to the conventional wisdom, we feel that statin protects kidney and in turn has a potential to protect kidney. That's not the case. Statin doesn't protect kidney. In fact, in the 4D trial in a patients with diabetic kidney disease, there was significant increase in fatal stroke with the atorvastatin. So you must remember that. The next molecule which was tried was called PKC beta inhibitor riboxystorin. When I was a medical student, I'm talking about 93, 94, we thought that riboxystorin is going to change the scene of diabetes complications. Initially, there was some benefit found in diabetic retinopathy, but eventually there was no benefit in the kidney outcome was seen. So the next molecule failed. The third one, so I just put it in a chronological order. This article is right now under review. Third molecule which was tried and tested was called darbepoetin alpha. This is cousin brother of erythropoietin alpha. People thought that if you increase the hemoglobin level, you can protect kidney. So this is trial called TREAT trial. Again, there was increase in stroke, like the 4D trial with atorvastatin, and trial was stopped. We thought that by increasing hemoglobin, we can protect kidney in a patient with CKD. That wasn't the case. The fourth one was called ASCENT trial. This was a new molecule called endothelin receptor antagonist called ebosentan. It's called ASCENT trial. This was tried to understand this molecule may have a potential to protect kidney. Unfortunately, this trial has to stop because there was increase in heart failure hospitalization with endothelin receptor antagonist ebosentan. The fourth molecule which was tried to protect kidney was failed. The fifth one is called TGF beta inhibitor, perfenidine. This was also tried, but there was no benefit. Sixth, the molecule, again, is called Sun Macro trial called sulodexide. It was a mixture of natural glycosaminoglycans. People thought, on experimental model that this drug may have a potential to protect kidney. Unfortunately, nothing happened. The seventh one is important to understand. It's called Altitude trial because this is the first trial done with eliscarine. Remember, Novartis had direct renin inhibitor called eliscarine. We felt that rather than blocking ACE inhibitor or ARB, if you block directly renin, you can protect kidney. Unfortunately, this trial with eliscarine, and know where now eliscarine is available in the planet because of this problem from this particular trial called Altitude. People thought that this drug has a potential to protect kidney like ACE inhibitor or ARB, but this trial was stopped prematurely because of increase in hyperkalemia and hypotension with eliscarine. The eighth one is called Banefron study, and again this is important trial to know because during and prior to this trial we had a belief that if you add ACE inhibitor to ARB, you can protect kidney because you are combining the two pathway on receptor and the angiotensin converting enzyme, and we can protect kidney. We miserably failed. So the Banefron D was a study where losartan and lisinopril was combined together, and again this trial was stopped prematurely because of increase in hyperkalemia and acute kidney injury, and since then we are not recommending use ACE inhibitor or ARB together. Ninth one is called Bicon. Why I am putting you in front is because we had a meager molecule to protect kidney. I will show you not only the negative but the positive part as well. We had to wait for nearly 2 decades, 20 years, to have another molecule like canagliflozin in the form of CREDENCE trial with shown benefit. So that makes CREDENCE having a huge credibility. So the ninth one is called Bicon trial with another molecule called NRF2 activator, bardoxolone. Again, no benefit. There was harm, increase in heart failure, and the trial was stopped. So you can see 9 molecules starting from statin, 2 combination of ACE, ARB, renin inhibitor, blah, 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 everything failed. But then the only benefit which we saw goes back to 2001. You can see this paper in New England Journal of Medicine in 2001. We thought that we have, just hit the jackpot. We had a drug which can protect kidney. In 2001, NEJM, in the same paper, 3 paper published, in same volume of NEJM, 3 paper published starting from the irbesartan trial called IRMA-2. They looked for albuminuria outcome, so we don't believe in that. IRMA-2, then IDNT, and renal trial was with losartan. And for the first time, we realized that, hey, we have got one molecule in the form of ARB that can protect you from kidney disease. And you can see from the IDNT with irbesartan to losartan in renal, we have a significant reduction in the composite of primary endpoint, renal endpoint. In the IRMA-2, it was a first, you can say, a mechanistic study to understand a drug has a potential to reduce proteinuria. But in IDNT, hard renal endpoint was taken into account. So then irbesartan, renal in the losartan, for the first time in 2001, we saw we have got a molecule in hand. And after the 2001, in 2019, you have got now 2 molecules which came into pipeline to protect kidney. So you had to wait for 18 years, roughly I said 2 decades, for a drug to protect kidney. So another trial was called SONAR. You would be surprised to know that SONAR was a trial which was just presented prior to CREDENCE trial in the World Nephrological Congress. And people started clapping because the primary endpoint was met, which was the kidney endpoint. But when the trial was presented, unfolded in front of the audience, we realized that, hello, this drug also has got a potential to increase in heart failure. So there was a significant protection to kidney, but there was a significant damage to the heart, because remember, this is the elder brother of same trial called ASCEND with ebocentan. I told you, I show you the data, there was increase in heart failure. The same brother of the same father showing again increase in heart failure. This time this is a selective endothelin antagonist. The SONAR trial got a public applause because for the first time in 18 years we could have a molecule to protect kidney. But unfortunately this applause was only ended within a second moment people saw that there is increase in heart failure. Immediately the next trial was presented, CREDENCE. Here you have got a molecule which has a similar potential to protect kidney, but this time the heart failure went in opposite direction. That drug also protect you from the heart failure. So just read the result from the SONAR and the CREDENCE. Both the drug has protected kidney, but the upper one has increased heart failure. The second one has reduced the heart failure. People grabbed this trial and said, yes, we got the molecule. So in summary, to realize what has happened in last 18 years, this is the data in front of you. Since 2001, we waited for 18 years. And you can see the upper one is the green one and lower one, the blue one is neutral and red one is the harm, starting from the 4D trial of atorvastatin to the vanepron D with combination of ACE inhibitor and ARB. We couldn't benefit. We rather damaged kidney. We had nothing in hand. Now we have got a molecule in the form of canagliflozin in CREDENCE. So we had to roughly wait for 18 years. And if you actually see the number needed to protect you from different kidney disease is pretty small. I'm sure you are aware that NNT of statin is much larger than the canagliflozin in CREDENCE trial. The NNT of aspirin is more than 100, and still you use aspirin in every one. Have you realized here NNT is 22, means if you give 22 people canagliflozin for 1 year, you can protect, so this is 2.5 year NNT. So if you give canagliflozin in 22 patients for 2.5 year, you can protect 1 people from the kidney disease. That's called number needed to treat. And you can see different endpoint, all the endpoint, and their NNT is much better than aspirin, which you use left, right, and center. What was also good about that, unlike the CANVAS trial where there was signal of amputation, there was no statistically significant increase in amputation in the CREDENCE trial. We all waited for that because these are the patients with high risk, with chronic kidney disease, who has a potential of, peripheral vascular disease, and there was no increase in amputation in the CREDENCE trial, which gives us a huge confidence that what has happened in CANVAS was unknown to us, but it wasn't seen in the CREDENCE trial. There was, I just take you 2-3 slides more because these are new data on the cardiovascular data of CREDENCE trial. So they tried to understand which kind of patients were in the CREDENCE trial. You can see 50% of the patient in the CREDENCE trial already had established heart disease, but the rest didn't have. So you can say as a primary outcome, but we can argue on that. Someone with a kidney disease, how can they be called as a primary prevention trial? So the primary prevention is in the context of heart disease. So even in the CREDENCE trial, 50% patient didn't have any evidence of heart disease. So that's called primary prevention and secondary prevention. What was surprising to find that this renal benefit has happened even without the evidence of established heart disease. So you can see benefit is existing in both patients with or without cardiovascular disease in the CREDENCE trial. So these are some new data. Again, you can see these heart failure and 3-point miss. You can see primary patients, in fact, had a better outcome in a patient's in the CREDENCE, in the 3-point message you can see. And what is interesting that, so thereby suggesting in the CREDENCE that everyone benefited. You don't need to have a heart disease for the protection from SGLT2. So if you are using canagliflozin for that matter in the CREDENCE trial, you are protecting kidney in everyone. It's not necessary to have a heart disease. So everyone in the sense that everyone having the kidney disease in the form of macroalbuminuria or established CKD, but EGFR more than 30. And this is the latest, prescribing additional level of different SGLT2. You can see in the list, the IMPA started with flying color of reduction in cardiovascular death in a patients with established heart disease. The next one was the CANA to get a MES approval. And recently, the CANA got also from DCGI, this kidney protection and reduction in hospitalization due to heart failure in patients with kidney disease. The DEPA has got heart failure hospitalization level right now. So this is the difference between the 4 molecule which is approved in United States. The CANA is not only having the cardiovascular, but also the kidney, the additional PI, which none other 2 has as of now in their prescribing information. So then, how, as a practitioner, you can utilize this into your clinical practice. This is a very recent paper published by one of my friend, Badhu here from UK. You can see this is in circulation, and this was, amply, taken care of in this slide. You can see that if you have got a patient with heart failure or kidney disease, up to the EGFR 30, you can use canagliflozin. That's a straightforward prescribing information from the US FDA. And recently from the DCGI as well. For the dapagliflozin, we expected, that's why you can see there is a superscript of a star there. We expect that DEPA already has got a heart failure, but then the heart failure in a patient with EGFR up to 45. They have not received their additional EGFR cutoff of 30 to 45 for dapagliflozin right now. So we expect that DEPA will also get, and sooner when the IMPA also come with the kidney trial. So ladies and gentlemen, I think I have taken you through what has happened in the CREDENCE trial. If you have any questions, we will take after the next talk. Thank you very much.